Biden, funeral ceremonies continue to be held for the remains of government President Ebrahim Raisi. In Venezuela, during an ordinary session of the National Assembly, the parliament approved the draft agreement to repudiate the despicable murder of young Venezuelan Orlando Figuera. And in Argentina, teachers and police protests continue in the province of Misiones to demand wage increases. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Iran, funeral ceremonies continue to be held for the remains of government President Ebrahim Raisi and other political leaders who lost their lives in a helicopter crash on May 19th in the northwest region of the country. The acts to honor the national leader started on Tuesday in the city of Tabriz, where the citizens had the opportunity to farewell the head of state and his partners. The presidential plane transferred the body of the Iranian leaders to Tehran to continue with the funeral prayers and ceremonies. The remains of the Iranian president and his comrades arrived in the city of Qom, where tributes will be paid at the holy shrine of Hazrat Fatima Masum and the Holy Mosque of Jamkaran. Likewise, the next commemorations will take place on Thursday in Birjand and then in the city of Mashhad, where the head of state, Ebrahim Raisi, will be buried since this is his hometown. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, sent his condolences to the people of Iran following the death of President Ebrahim Raisi.
We express our condolences to the people of Iran for the death in an accident of the President of Iran and the Foreign Minister of this republic, of this nation. So far, this is the information we have. Our deepest condolences for the death of these leaders, the President, the Foreign Minister, and other members of the government of Iran.
Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed solidarity with the people of Iran over the death of Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi in a plane crash last Saturday.
The death of President Raisi is a great loss, first of all, to Iran and the Iranian people, of course. Please convey my deepest condolences for this tragedy. In fact, he was a very reliable partner, a simple man.
Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammad Mustafa on Tuesday condemned the Israeli military operation against the Palestinian territories. Palestinian Foreign Minister Mohammad Mustafa also condemned the Israeli attack on the West Bank city of Jenin and its refugee camp, which killed at least 7 Palestinians and injured 15. Mustafa noted the wave of questioning in the world against Israeli actions and the recent recognition of the Palestinian state by several countries, including Barbados, Jamaica, and Bahamas. He also condemned the support of the United States to the genocidal actions of Tel Aviv, as it provides it with all kinds of killing machines and protects the occupation before all international instances. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, defended Israel against accusations of committing acts of genocide in the Gaza Strip. U.S. President expressed his country's unconditional support for Tel Aviv, despite the more than 35,500 Palestinians' deaths caused by the Israeli army since October 7, 2009. This statement followed the request by the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court for arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Biden condemned the court's action as well as the International Criminal Court's indictment of Israel's genocidal actions against the people of Palestine. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Venezuela, during an ordinary session of the National Assembly, the parliament approved a draft agreement to repudiate the despicable murder of the young Venezuelan Orlando Figuera. During the ordinary session on Tuesday, Deputy Diosdado Cabello Rondon presented a draft agreement in repudiation of the despicable murder of Orlando Figuera, who lost his life in 2017 at the hands of right-wing demonstrators after being singled out because of his skin color. For their part, the deputies voted in favor of the project, thus being approved. In this regard, the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, ordered the Internal Political Commission of the National Assembly to immediately initiate an exhaustive investigation into the facts that led to Figuera's murder, pointing out that the investigation must include the whereabouts of the assassins who committed the act.
Was Orlando the only one killed and set on fire? No. No. They did it in Lencherias. I remember it clearly. They did it in Lara, in a sector called El Lujano. I remember it well. In Mérida, they did it. In Táchira, they did it. It seemed like they were following an order to terrorize the adversary, to terrorize the enemy. They are terrorists. They are fascists. They deserve the condemnation of the whole country, not only of Chavismo, not only of Chavismo. Today, sectors of the Venezuelan right wing or some members of the Venezuelan opposition are here in this assembly and have experienced some of the evil of these sectors, of other sectors of the opposition.
In Colombia, at least 8 people lost their lives and 10 others were injured after an escalation of violence in the northern region of Cauca due to clashes between armed groups. The latest conflicts take place in the region of Cajibio, Cauca, where 2 soldiers were wounded by armed groups that control the northern part of the territory. The Colombian government has ordered to lift the suspension of armed actions in the department of Cauca, Nariño, and Valle del Cauca in order to restore security in the region. The violence began last Friday with the explosion of a roadside device in Miranda, which left 2 people dead. The departments of Cauca and Valle del Cauca are the scene of a new escalation of violence by armed groups seeking to establish territorial power in the region. The authorities of Cali City have stepped up security controls to prevent terrorist attacks in communities near the city. In Jamundi, a motorcycle bomb exploded this Tuesday against 100 policemen who arrived to reinforce the security of the municipality, injuring 3 children and 2 policemen. Since May 17th, the wave of violence has also affected the municipality of Miranda, with the explosion of a roadside device that left 2 victims dead, while 2 policemen were killed and 3 others wounded in Morales. The same happened in Cajibio, where 2 soldiers were wounded as a result of the violence that is plaguing the South American country. According to the Institute of Studies for Development and Peace, in the past, from January 1st to May 20th, 2024, the following deaths were registered at the hand of armed groups operating in the South American country. At least 11 social leaders were assassinated in the department of Cauca, including 2 women. Likewise, in the cities of Caldona and Sucre, 3 peace signatories lost their lives in terrorist operations, while 4 other massacres were registered in Paimonte, Paez, Corinto, and Cajibio. In Argentina, teachers and police protests continue in the province of Misiones to demand wage increases. The mobilizations reject the neoliberal policies of Milei's government that affect the provincial budgets. The demonstrators confirmed on Monday that no agreement has been reached with the authorities, so they will continue with their demands. The police agents' requests include the payment of the wages they are owed and a salary increase of over 100 to reach the basic food basket and improve the overall income in the face of current inflation. The mobilizations could affect the national commerce since Misiones is a logistic node in the triple border with Paraguay and Brazil. The Argentinian Healthcare Workers Union also reached its second day of protest through informative assemblies to demand a salary increase. A communique from the Federation of Argentine Healthcare Workers Association, FATSA, states that there are 300,000 employees at national level who have no recognition or claims of any kind from the business sector, and that their salaries have lost purchasing power due to the country's economic situation. The representatives of this union state that after numerous meetings with the employers' representatives, there is no consensus for the salaries to be in accordance with the work they perform. Despite a slow receding of waters in Porto Alegre, capital of Rio Grande do Sul, floods persist in a large area of the municipalities of the Brazilian state, and there are still 600,000 displaced. Our correspondent Ignacio Lemos updates us with more.
In the mountainous regions of Rio Grande do Sul, there are constant traces of landslides and houses smashed by storms. The roads are showing signs of major impacts, but the routes to Porto Alegre have already been repaired for traffic. The Cai River swept away everything in front of it.
The flood took everything. My mother's house was damaged. I don't have much to say. It destroyed everything.
The bridge collapse changed the routine of students and workers in the Highlands region.
Nosotros trabajamos aquí.
We work here and it's 1 kilometer away, but when the river level rises, we have to travel 22 kilometers of a very lousy country road.
In urban regions, as São Leopoldo town, the water is receding slowly. Some are already thinking about repairs and cleaning.
We had cleaned up on Sunday, but then came again the river flooding. And it rose another meter or so, as far as I could see, because here everything was already cleaned. In here, we had cleaned everything and it rose a meter again.
In the face of repeated and increasingly intense extreme weather phenomena, others are thinking of moving.
We didn't expect that to happen. In the 1941 flood, the water level wasn't that high. Nobody was prepared for it. We really won't stay here anymore. We will look for another place.
There are volunteers dedicated to rescuing animals that have been isolated on the roofs and have been resisting for over 2 weeks.
There are 4 of the same family. One was clinging to the fence, drowning. We passed by and saw her, so we jumped into the water, and when we looked in the house there were 3 more and 2 cats and a bird in the cage.
As a dam burst out, water came with power and families did not have time. Many of them have lost everything, and are looking forward to return to their homes to rebuild their lives.
It's sad. People lost everything. If you can help out. People need clothes and food. We are very grateful.
For each of the 600,000 lives that suffered an eviction, there's a story of a common problem in Rio Grande do Sul, but one that extends across the earth and is far from being sorted out. In the second half of the week, Rio Grande do Sul expects further rainfalls. In addition, southerly winds are damming water in the Lagoa dos Patos. Moreover, the full moon is stirring up the sea where flows generated by floods must be discharged. Ignacio Lemos para teleSUR desde Rio Grande do Sul.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community and stay tuned with From the South at 10 p.m. Caracas time with our special interview with Wael Al-Dahdow, Palestinian journalist and the bureau chief of Al Jazeera News Media in Gaza. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Russia, the military starts the first phase of training on the preparation and use of non-strategic nuclear weapons. This exercise was convened by the commander of the Southern Military Region, which is aimed at maintaining military readiness in view of the statements of Western officials. It is worth noting that the missile forces are practicing the preparation for the use of Iskander tactical missile systems. In addition, the aviation will provide aviation weapons, including Kinzhal hypersonic missiles with special payloads, and will proceed to its patrol area. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called for the release of Julian Assange, who has been incarcerated in a British high-security prison for more than 5 years. The high official affirmed this Tuesday before local media that the imprisonment of the founder of the digital portal WikiLeaks does not serve any purpose, and assured that he has already spent enough time in prison. Albanese promised to continue working to achieve the release of the editor, who is at risk of being extradited to the United States. Julian Assange is accused by Washington of espionage and could face up to 175 years in prison after he revealed a series of American documents in which several war crimes committed by the White House in Iraq and Afghanistan were disclosed. One man has died and 30 people have been injured on a Singapore Airlines flight that had to make an emergency landing in Bangkok, Thailand due to heavy turbulence. The flight, which left London Heathrow Airport on Monday night, was bound for Singapore. The deceased is a 73-year-old British citizen who was traveling with his wife and who probably suffered a heart attack. The Boeing 777-300 Air was carrying 211 passengers and 18 crew members, according to the airline. Among the 30 injured, 7 are in critical condition. Videos posted on social network X show a dozen ambulances arriving on the tarmac to attend the injured. The Women's Tennis Association and the Saudi Public Investment Fund announced on Monday a multi-year partnership aimed at growing women's professional tennis and inspiring women and girls worldwide to take up the sport. With this agreement, WTA hopes to enhance and develop initiatives to support women players at all levels. This new partnership follows the recent announcement that the WTA season finals will be held in Riyadh for the next 3 years, starting this 2024, with the top 8 women's singles players and double teams of the season. The Saudi PIF has also partnered with the combined WTA 1000 and ATP Masters 1000 tournaments in Indian Wells, Miami and Madrid, in addition to the WTA 1000 and ATP 500 in Beijing. Moving on to the cultural news, 2 centuries-old sculptures stolen from Thailand returned to the Asian country after the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York agreed to return them. The pieces, dating back to the 11th century, are a standing gold-plated bronze representation of the Hindu god Shiva and another a kneeling image of a woman with gold and silver decoration. Both sculptures arrived at custom facilities in Bangkok, where experts carried out a first inspection. An official ceremony is scheduled for Tuesday to celebrate the return of the sculptures, which will be transferred for display at the National Museum. The Metropolitan Museum removed these pieces from the exhibition and announced the return. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.